Unfortunate when she's by herself. She's just we're a little bit off top speed-wise, but so far she's doing a great job.
Thanks, Bob.
Sam Hornish decides to come in on lap 151, so he is rolling the dice. Scott, can he get it done from here on out without a yellow?
Not if it's all green. He's going to have to come in for a splash of fuel. Obviously, if there is a yellow, then he'll take advantage of that. We'll have to see how this plays out right now. There again, get out and get going as quickly as possible to get back up to speed. This is where the drivers earn their pay. The drivers that can drive the car up to the edge and maybe a little bit more. And here he is coming off the apron in turn 2. He's already doing 180 miles an hour, Todd. And these guys are going to blow by, doing somewhere around 210, 215. A beautiful blend in here. Boy, he's up to speed fast.
So it's Franchitti, Kanaan, and Weldon. Andretti Green's three-headed monster now rules the roost at the California Speedway. With 48 laps to go, who will get the victory in the finale? Stick around and fight. You are looking at Patrick Carpentier, part of the Red Bull Cheever team, coming in for a pit stop. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, the Red Bull Cheever team is making a big announcement today. Unfortunately, Red Bull, their main sponsor, is pulling out, but it's because they're moving on to F1. They bought a second team there. So Eddie Cheever hopes to be back next year. Eddie, right now, with your plans, what is expected for 2006 with you guys?
We have a contract with Toyota to run 2 cars next year. We will be doing it to the best of our ability. We're sad, obviously, to see Red Bull leave and go to just race Formula One, but we've had a great time with him, and it's been a great experience. And right now, I'm more focused on my cars out here than what happens in 206.
Alex Barron, Patrick Carpentier both hope to be back on the team next year. Right now, Alex Barron is not signed, but Patrick Carpentier has 1 more year left on his contract. Guys?
Well, it is nervous time, not only in this race, Scotty, but for drivers next year. And there's a lot of rumblings out there of drivers who may or may not come back. And you're really driving for your job right here. The impression you leave, I guess, with your owner is what they're going to think about the next couple months.
Always is the case. These 2 drivers up front, though, Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan, certainly know that they're going to be back with the teams that they're driving for, just driving for pride.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And they are a bit pensive and nervous down here in the Dario Franchitti pit. They have told Dario, you have got to save fuel. We've got to get you to lap 162 to make that final pit stop. He fended off his teammate Tony Kanaan a minute ago, and Dan Weldon, and even his wife, the lovely Ashley Judd, very pensive. Now she knows the score. She knows her husband has got to be able to tease at least 3 more laps out of this car to get to 162, or else he won't make it all the way. If he comes in before then, in fact, it's still going to be very, very close. Watch, he's trying to fend off everybody there, trying to hold, save fuel, and trying to protect his spot 2 laps away from a pit stop.
So my pick for the new James Bond has got a tall order in front of him. Dario Franchitti, the Scotsman, trying to hold off teammate Tony Kanaan. And Dan Weldon's getting back in there. He's a little bit froggy, and you don't want to know why? Because Sam Hornish Jr. giving him the proverbial business at 215 miles an hour. This was just 2 laps ago when Weldon, the series champion, and Hornish had a little conference.
Hornish trying to move the car down so quickly. Not sure why that's the case, but look at the banking difference on the front stretch down to that apron. The front area is probably around 12 degrees. The banking here in the turn somewhere around 14. So I'll tell you what, there's not too many times you get away with that. Some great driving.
It's Franchitti, number 27, the blue and red car. His teammate, you are riding on board with that, is Tony Kanaan, the Brazilian. And once again, Hornish goes way up high.
Todd, did you see how loose that car is? Once he gets behind the rear wing of the car in front, that thing is just crawling itself up the road. He's driving the wheels off that thing.
So at this point, are they telling Dan Weldon, stay away from Hornish? He's obviously not giving you the business. He cannot control that car.
Well, I'd say stay in front of Sam Hornish right now, because he's not taking his foot off the gas for anything. The car's just dancing around.
They come together once again, and they're going to do the dance at 215. Meanwhile, Dario Franchitti trying to hold off his teammate. Scott, why are they not working together?
The cars are not working as well as they need to in the turns. You see everybody going up and looking for clean areas. You see right now Sharp and Weldon came off the screen coming into the pit lane. Some smoke behind the 26 of Danny Weldon locking those tires up.
Everyone coming in hot, locking up the tires as we check in with Vince Welch.
Well, the Scott Sharp team has been spending the last several laps just trying to conserve fuel. And as you see the hot racing on the track, Sharp has come in for his stop. This will be his last stop. He's the second car there behind the 26 of Dan Weldon. Tires and fuel, they're topping it off to get him to the end. Scheckter coming out as well. Let's see who's well ahead of Scheckter. So it'll be Sharp and then Weldon, and then you see Scheckter coming down the back lane. Franchitti is coming down the pit lane, and Dr. Jerry Punch will have that stop.
60 miles an hour. They are less than 40 laps away from the completion of this 2005 season. Dario Franchitti's final pit stop, and right in front of him, Tony Kanaan. Let's see which one of these Andretti Green teams will win this race off pit road. This is probably the final pit stop of the year. Left side of your screen, the leader, as you're watching your pit stop on the right side. Great stop by Franchitti's bunch, and Kanaan 12.5 seconds as Franchitti beats him by about 2.5 seconds.
It almost seemed like he held there, Scott, momentarily, let Dario get out as not to take each other out. There's your leader, Jacques Lazier, number 10, driving for the Target Chip Ganassi team. More drivers coming into pit. Danica Patrick leads down. Elio Castro Neves has been pointed out before. Big incentives, as Dr. Punch told us, for Elio Castro Neves. If he can move up some positions, they would sorely love to have that money as we check in with Vince Welch.
Elio dominated this race last year. He led 145 of the 200 laps, but he finished only 7th. Plenty of fuel. Away cleanly. No chassis adjustments on the 3-car of Castro Neves.
So he picks up a position on Danica Patrick. She will follow him out of pit row. Jacques Lazier continues to lead, and these are the last pit stops for 2005. So far, they have gone off without a hitch. Tomas Scheckter having no problems as we ride on board with Danica Patrick. Can she get her pony up and running to the front, or will it be Jacques Lazier's day? Stick around. The end's coming. Welcome back to ESPN's live coverage of the Toyota Indy 400 from California Speedway in Fontana, California. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear and the finest pit crew in the bunch, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, and Jamie Little. Your leader right now, Dario Franchitti with his teammate Tony Kanaan. We are all pitted and set to go racing. No more should happen unless a yellow comes out as we take a look at the Toyota lap leaders. And just as I say that, we've got a yellow flag. Number 55, Koski Matsura, spins out on pit row, and he did more than just spin out, Scott.
We're not sure why he ended up that way, but certainly it's a situation where the car is not going to continue. But what I think about right now, Todd, is that the race complexion has now changed. Tomas Scheckter, who has been so fast, is now going to get to bunch up with the field and have an opportunity to be within a reach of the drivers in front on this restart.
Folks, if you believe me on that Dan Patrick Danica thing, stick around. We've got 29 laps, and it will be a shootout in Fontana. The final race of the season of the IndyCar circuit, and it's going to come down to a restart and a dash for the cash and the checkered flag. You make a great point, partner. Tomas Scheckter's been fast. How good is he, though, on the restart, knowing that Andretti Green is just dominant?
Timing is everything. Track position is everything. We talked about that. Make sure you get a great restart because you're not going to get many opportunities to pass.
Folks, quick reminder, bounce on over to ESPN.com for Toyota Indy 400 post-race winner chat. That's post-race winner chat only on ESPN.com. The keyword is IRL. It should be memorable. This is our third yellow and hopefully the final one as they bunch back up. Come on back. We've got 29 laps to decide everything here in California. We are under yellow in Fontana at the California Speedway, the final race of the IndyCar Series. It's the Toyota Indy 400. Now, the points as of now, Dan Weldon's a lock. He's got the title. There's Tony Kanaan, Sam Hornish Jr., and Dario Franchitti 2 points down, and they're looking to get, the folks at Penske, they're looking to get Elio Castro Neves into that top 5 position because, as Dr. Jerry Punch said, there'd be a little extra cash on the table if they can get both their drivers in the top 5. Dr. Jerry Punch, what do you got?
And we're down here with Michael Andretti. And Michael, we just saw a moment ago that if Dario can pull this one off, I know you're sort of neutral. You like Switzerland in this whole deal with all these cars in the race. But if he can pull off the win, he may have a shot at finishing third in points. You get a 1-2-3 sweep. What are your thoughts?
Well, that was our goal coming into this weekend. We just went to see if we can get him up there and he's doing everything he can. You know, we're going to need some help from Sam for sure, but so far it's going to be quite interesting.
Fuel has been somewhat of an issue. Now your three guys moving against each other out there on the racetrack, burning up some extra fuel. This yellow had to give you a little sigh of relief.
Well, I think it helped, but I think they've been watching that and you know, running together. I think they can help save a little fuel as well. So I think we're okay.
A championship and maybe a top 3 sweep for Andretti Green doesn't get much sweeter than that.
Oh, that would be unbelievable. You know, it's already been unbelievable, and the top 3 would be just a dream season.
Are you rested up for the big party tonight?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. That brought a smile. Indeed, they will be partying. They've worked awful hard, and they're going to party hard tonight here in L.A.
And I just hope their room isn't next to ours. That'd be bad news. Dan Weldon rooming next to you? You kidding me? You wouldn't be sleeping for 3 days.
Well, I hear there's a big party in L.A. tonight with them, and Michael Andretti and the team owners did something really neat. They actually flew in all the spouses from the team. They had a big party here at the track last night, Saturday night. Then they have a big deal tonight, obviously in L.A., the award ceremony Monday night, and then a big deal in Long Beach on Tuesday. So big party going on for a long time.
This is the race for 3rd place overall. As you saw, Sam Hornish Jr. and Dario Franchitti, and you heard Dr. Jerry Punch's interview with Michael Andretti saying how nice it would be to be able to sweep that podium. But I got to tell you, they're getting greedy. They got the Indy 500. They got the 2005 season. They're asking for a lot, but if anyone can pull it off, it is them. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Gary Pettigo, we're checking in with him again. He's been a man to watch all day. Tomas Scheckter, right now, 30 laps to go, a little less than 30 laps. Where do you guys stand on fuel strategy?
We're in good shape. It's going to be exciting to the end. Thomas is absolutely driving the wheels off of it, so stick around. It's going to get real exciting here in about 2 laps.
It's going to get real exciting. Scheckter is always a firecracker at the end. Hey, we're talking about Andretti having a party. Perhaps we could see you guys have a good party tonight with Chevy.
It'll be a big one, yeah. The Chevy Indy V8 has done a tremendous job. It's a great motor. Sorry to see it go. Hopefully we can get it in winner's circle today.
All right, Tomas Scheckter has led the most laps today, guys. Stay tuned. We'll see if he can hold it to the end.
A lot of parties tonight, but still a lot of racing to go. 25 laps, and we have decided to go pit, and we check in with Vince.
Sam Hornish Jr. had a pit speed violation earlier in the race. That put him a lap down. They've making a chassis adjustment here. Fuel and tires. They short fueled at about lap 128, but they've got him back on sequence now, and we'll have to see. He'll need a little bit of luck to get up toward the front and challenge here in the final 26 laps.
Some amazing driving by Sam Hornish Jr. just to keep up front there and get in front of these guys, trying to get his laps back. But as Vince Welsh said, it's a long way to go from where he's sitting right now to get through all those competitive cars up towards the front. I'd have to say Tomas Scheckter has a lot more of an opportunity to do that than Sam Hornish.
All right, it's genius time, everybody. So get your thinking caps on. It's the final time I will ask you in 2005 with 25 laps to go. Scott Goodyear, who you got?
Well, I had picked Tomas Scheckter on the way into the race today. I'm going to stick with that one. I know it's a bit of a long shot right now, but he is a man possessed.
Vince Welch, who do you got with 25 to go?
I tell you what, I earlier in the race thought maybe Sam Hornish would be the guy to beat, but I think right now I have to go with the guy who's sitting in front. I don't want to be a front runner necessarily, but I like Dario.
Dr. Punch.
I likewise, listening to his teammates on the radio, they want to see Dario win, but they're not going to make it easy, but they want to push him across and maybe get him third in the points. I'm going for Franchitti.
Jamie?
You guys are all copycats because I called it earlier today. I said Franchitti. You know, nobody's won from the pole here at California Speedway. I just had a hunch about Franchitti today, and now I see you guys are all jumping on my bandwagon.
I can't believe she called you guys out like that. Wow. So we got some votes for Franchitti. Mr. Goodyear decides to go with Mr. Scheckter.
Well, Mr. Harris.
I've always liked the weather down in Brazil. I like Tony Kanaan. No one restarts better, and we see him at the start of the races. This guy can pick off 10 positions like nobody's business. So it will be, in my book, Tony Kanaan. We will see what happens as they bring it out of turn 3 and into turn 4. You heard it. Green flag is out. Release the hounds in Fontana. And I get the feeling there are no driving orders, Scotty.
Last race this season, and whoa, those two guys between Weldon and Sharp getting very close. Remember, Weldon has had a car that's been pushing up the track all the time. He did not want to be on the bottom. That's why he slid up to Sharp. He's now going to try and retreat back up to the high side where his car seems to have been most comfortable for him. And if it's going to work for him, he's going to have to stay up there all day long.
And there is some fish shaking out there. I thought for a second I was going to look like a genius. That's never happened in my lifetime, as Tony Kanaan got a great run, a great restart. Tomas Scheckter, your boy.
Look who's lurking. On the low line. Very smart place to be. He'll have that fuel turned up to 100%. Taking a look at Mira right now.
Danica Patrick, as we rode on board with her moments ago, she made a jump up. She's now sitting in 8th place.
Mira had moved up the racetrack to try and make Scheckter have to take the high line, so we'll see what happens now. Oh, Mira back down on the apron. Danny Weldon giving him no room. Mira knows he has to get the job done. Second twice so far this year, including Indy. 3 wide. I would not want to be in the top side with Weldon's car moving up all the time. You know, Todd Scheckter says, guys, if you're not going to give me that low side, I'll just go around the top.
We got a SIG alert in Fontana as they are bunching up at 215 miles an hour. This is the way you should commute to work in Southern California. Dario Franchitti continues to lead, and Danica decides to go down to no man's land. She recovers quickly, but when she comes back up, Jacques Lazier is in her spot.
Man, am I glad I'm in the booth now. These guys are crazy.
Great piece of driving. With 20 laps to go, they keep it wound up over 215. Dario Franchitti checks in with a 2:16.6.
Remember, Mira right now is not on the driving docket over at Ray Hall Letterman we hear so far next year. Trying to prove his worth as he's chasing Scott Sharp.
Watch this. Danica gets pushed down below the white line.
Yeah, because right now the 26 of Weldon and the Jimmy Klein 2 car went up high, and man, what a great piece of driving twice by Danica Patrick.
And Jacques Lazier, give him some credit as well.
Absolutely. She's saying, I just want to get to my wedding date, guys.
20 laps to go in Fontana, and the IndyCar season comes to a conclusion. And look at Jacques Lazier flying the pink proudly, staying just in front of Danica Patrick.
Todd, I talked to Jacques before the race today, and he said anything better than 10th is like a win for me. And he has really given it a good run for Chip Ganassi today, currently running 7th.
Good report, Vince. He's currently running 7th, and he looks strong. His car is absolutely on mark today.
I'll tell you what's happening here, guys, is coming through turns 1 and 2. All those cars are pushing up onto the high side of the exit of turn 2. You see all the cars start to snake back down to get to the low side, going down the backstretch to protect their position. And this is an accident waiting to happen right now. Using so much of the track on the way out up to the high side, snaking back down to the low side. Sooner or later, we're going to touch. And in the thick of all that, the 16, Danica Patrick.
She's got 2 bogeys of Penske on the backside right now, trying to hold them off. Danica Patrick sits in 8th. Dario Franchitti is your leader. His teammate Tony Kanaan has shown a proclivity for not riding team rules. Kanaan, one of the best restarters. Is he lurking, Scott? Is he waiting to get a run on Dario Franchitti, or will he help him get the victory?
I gotta believe that he wants to win it so bad himself that he'll take advantage of it if he has to do it cleanly. That means taking advantage of maybe a miscue on Dario Franchitti's part. Is he going to play dirty pool, pushing down below the white line? I don't think so.
They seem to be working together right now. Dario Franchitti just driving his race. His wife, Ashley Judd, no question she could be a Bond girl. She could be Mrs. Bond. And James Bond 2006, Dario Franchitti is out in front with Tony Kanaan, and all Ashley can do is watch. Duck punch.
And as she watches her husband, as you watch your husband try to fend off his teammate, Ashley Judd, very nervous. She knows how much her husband wants us. All weekend, Dario has said, we've had miscues, we've had mistakes, we've had misfortunes. We should have easily won 4 races, maybe 5. Maybe we should be champion this year.
We got an incident, big incident, turn 4. Danica Patrick has made contact with the wall.
Couple
2
of
cars involved. One of them is certainly the target Chip Ganassi car, Danica Patrick.
time. You're fine. Car's not burning. You're fine. Safety truck's there. Safety truck's right with you. Let those guys help you.
See how fast these safety trucks get there, Todd? We talked about that in AJ Force's
Hey, nice job either way.
The good news is Danica is up. She is moving. The driver for Ray Hall Letterman drove a fantastic race. But Scott, you're a genius. You called it. You said this is too close at too high of speeds. This is an accident waiting to happen. She does not want to get in the safety car. She wants to make the walk back.
Walk back, but certainly has to go into the hospital. Be checked out right there. A lot of disappointment.
That is a very disappointed Jacques Lazier.
Just lives down the road. He's been speaking with the team. Maybe an opportunity for him there next year, and so dedicated that he wants to do this so bad. He said, you know something, if I have the opportunity to drive for this team next year, I will move to Indianapolis.
Jacques Lazier, truly one of the great guys. Here it is one more time. Danica on the high side. Oh, we saw that earlier, Scott.
Cars just start to slide when you start to come off that last portion of the turn. Looks like maybe Jacques Lazier's car start to walk up, and we're only talking maybe 6 inches, Todd. We'll have to go back and look at that replay a few more times. Watch in relation to the white line on the bottom. The 10 car looks like it just moves up only 6 or 8 inches and just enough to touch tires, and off you go.
On board with Danica, this is how it looks from her perspective.
She just got the run on Jacques Lazier coming out of 2 over all those bumps down the backstretch. So close right there all the way. Looks like the line's going straight. Just creeps up and gets that left rear.
You called it. You said they were going to touch.
That is so hard. I have had that hit so many times. Listen to this. You know something? Up, the wing goes off, the back of the gearbox is there. Now, all those pieces stay attached, Todd. The wheel, the wing, and everything of that nature, all those large pieces, because of all the attachments they have, the cables, the swims that actually are there to retain those pieces of the car to the main part of the car. Those parts are not flying around the racetrack.
We had the safer barrier up there, so that's always got to help as we check in quickly with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, we were talking about Jacques Lazier. He's having a great day. It's his 50th IndyCar race, and he was leading some laps. But, Chip, I know you're very frustrated. What did you see there?
Well, it's unfortunate, Jamie. I mean, he's been on the radio all day long saying that girl's been just pinching him down all the time, and she comes by you and pinches you down on the white line. She comes by and pinches you down the white line. There's no place for him to go.
You think that was intentional? You think that was racing?
Well, I don't know if it was intentional or not, or if it was just racing. It's damn dangerous is what it is.
Is everything all right? Did you hear him on the radio?
No, he's fine. He's fine. But he said, look, I'm at the white line, and she's coming down on me. Where's he supposed to go?
Maybe that was just a little retaliation because we saw Danica Patrick come below the white line, be pushed down. So we'll have to wait and see what Danica has to say about it. And right now we go to Vince Welch.
Well, with Ray Lato, Danica's engineer, Chip saying that Danica was pinching him. How did you see it, Ray?
Well, you know, we've been running with Lazier all day, and he's been kind of all over the place. He's chopped her once or twice. Looked like to me, from where I was seeing it, he understeered up into her rear tire. That's what she felt too. So I mean, we'll just have to look at the replay. Tough way to end the season for the Argent Pioneer Honda car. We had a great season, and you know, we obviously wanted to finish in the top 10 today with Danica.
Thanks, Ray.
Well, Scott, good year. 2 sides to every story. We've seen almost every angle possible. I'm going to let you have the first shot at this one. Do you assign blame to anyone, or was that just racing?
Know, if Chip doesn't wear glasses, he might actually have to go get some, because I got to think that the 10 car actually just starts to work itself up the racetrack just a little bit. And like I said, Todd, we're only talking 6 or 8 inches as we watch here right now. Watch the 10 car in relation to the white line. It's just creeping itself up the track just a little bit. And you know something? That's not a lot. You feel it a little bit in the steering wheel. The steering wheel's getting light, moving itself up. He doesn't want to take his foot off the gas because he actually doesn't want to lose the position. Here's another replay. Remember, we talked about going over the bumps, getting a good run, going down in turn 3, and so close right there. That's enough to tell you that this is an accident waiting to happen.
But I'll play devil's advocate. Look how close he is to the white line. He really has nowhere to go, and I understand
space
that.
there. Watch this. He's got about a half a car width down there, but it's up to the guy in the bottom that if he cannot continue to keep his line, he's got to start to take his foot off the gas and get the pressure back on the front wheels to get the car to grip around the turn. But my point is, right now, the car's creeping up. You can see how it just starts to creep up. But as a driver, you will not take your foot off the gas.
Right.
And so that's what he doesn't want to do that, but unfortunately the car is creeping, and she's far enough past him that she doesn't know he's starting to walk up the racetrack a little bit. Otherwise, she would have given him some more space.
In layman's terms, she had the right of way and he was just too stubborn to back it off?
And the yield sign maybe wasn't big enough, if that's what you're asking me. I've driven with you. I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, unfortunately, as they both said, an unfortunate way for them to end their year and end their day as Danica Patrick goes out with just about 15 laps to go, making contact with Jacques Lazier. But as Scott Goodyear pointed out, 4 or 5 laps before that, they were doing the very dangerous dance at 216 miles an hour, Scotty, and you said they were bound to touch.
And it looked like it was going to happen. It has. Now what I like is with just maybe 10 laps left to go, maybe 8 before we get a green flag here once they've cleaned up, is the chase to the flag. You've got Franchitti, Kanaan, Sharp, Mira, who hasn't won. He's been second so many times. Thomas Scheckter, who has a lot to prove, obviously, after the car stalls in the pit lane. Franchitti wants to stay in front, try and collect maximum point. Kanaan had a good season, not so bad. Second in the points championship. I'm looking at those 3 guys right now, Scott, Sharp, Mira, and Scheckter, all want to get up to the front. I'm not so sure we haven't seen our last yellow.
Tomas Scheckter is lurking, and I say lurking in 5th place because all day long that Chevrolet has really had the dominant power. Unfortunately, they are leaving the series. This will be their last race, and what a way to send them out if Tomas Scheckter could have the restart of his lifetime. But Tony Kanaan is the restart master, and I got to think that Kanaan is saying, I've just been handed the golden goose with 10 laps to go. Watch this.
And remember, nobody's got any fuel issues right now. It's 100% fuel, 100% horsepower coming out of the particular make and model. This is what's going to be the fun part.
Doc, what do you got?
Well, Franchitti's the leader, but this guy here, Kanaan, he could be the real catalyst as to whether one of those guys win the race, because they have told Tony Kanaan, be careful, watch the guy behind you, the 8 car. And also, the car we're real worried about is that number 4 car, that Chevy that's awfully strong. He's going to be coming in a hurry. Tony said, you know, it's not my first rodeo. I've been here a long time. I know what's coming, but the question is, can I hold him off?
Well, it's an interesting turn of juxtaposition for Tony Kanaan. Usually he is the attacker or the pursuee, and now he is saying, well, I may be the target. People are going to be looking at me. Is he now, Scotty, the bait?
Well, for certain, he will actually try and make his car very wide to anybody that might try and go past him. And let's talk about the restart here just a little bit. There's 2 cones, one here and one here. Now remember, the cars will be going in this position, coming up through turn 3, through turn 4, and when they get into this area here, that is what they call the acceleration zone. Do not start before you get to the first cone, which is right here, and make sure that you are on the gas before you get to the second cone. All that said and done, will the drivers actually obey the rules here? If it was up to me, maybe I'd make sure that I'd be on there just before I got to the zone and get through the gearbox crisply, cleanly, and get down to turn 1 as fast as you can.
With 16 races under our belts, I've got to think that Tomas Scheckter knows that Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan are not going to check up and do a delayed restart. So I'm wondering if Tomas Scheckter is going to come out of turn 3 and jump the gas a little early and try to time it just right.
This is where you've got your foot on the gas and you take your left foot, put it on the brake to slow the car down if you want a little bit, but your foot is on the gas to keep maximum RPMs with that engine.
10 laps to go. Jamie Little, what do you got?
Well, Todd, I'm back at the medical center. Good news, Danica Patrick and Jacques Lazier both say they're fine. They checked out fine. Danica said she has a bruise on her elbow. We're waiting for both drivers to come out and hopefully get both of their sides on what happened here. Since everybody's saying their opinions, we'll get it straight from the drivers. Right now, let's go to Doc.
You know, Tony Kanaan's defense may be a little bit handcuffed here. I just heard a moment ago from the team behind me that he may be really short on fuel. They did a short fill on that last stop, so he's got to go about another 2 or 3 laps if we go green before he can turn the fuel back up to full power. He may not have the power to hold anybody off. It may be Franchitti who's got to outrun him up front, guys.
And the best stats man in the business just handed me a card that we shouldn't forget, Scott Sharp's team in 3rd. Now, they won this race last year with Adrian Fernandez Racing. So Adrian, I'm sure, is staying very close to Scott Sharp, number 8. There is his wife, Kim, and we saw the emotion that she had in Kentucky, and what would it mean for her and their family to get another victory. Scott Sharp certainly deserving, as is every driver that is out there. But he has worked so hard and been in this circuit for so long. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, guys, you're looking at Tomas Scheckter currently sitting 5th, and Sam Hornish is 7th. They just came over the radio and told Scheckter, if Hornish can catch up to you, he's going to try to give you a boost. He'll try to help you. So look for Scheckter and Hornish to possibly team up here.
Interesting. They've got Dan Weldon in between them. So the scenarios are aplenty. How will it play out? We will have to wait and see. And hopefully the next time they come around, we will be set to go green. All right, Scott Goodyear. They pay you a whole lot of money to be smart up here. What's going to happen?
We got to get green flag this lap?
Yes, we are. Here
this
we
is
go.
the part that I love. I'd be up in the tail box right there in the very back section of the car, so we have that time.
Cinch up your belt and pull up to the table. The feast is on in Fontana. Kanaan to the outside. Sharp tucks right in behind Franchitti.
Now the first two guys up front there want to get in line because if they're side by side, they're going to end up going slower. These guys fanning out here in the back section need to start aligning themselves with somebody, start working on that draft. Here comes Scheckter, who did not really get as great of a restart as I thought that he was going to get.
It is really a seven-man race. Sam Hornish Jr. trying to help out Tomas Scheckter. Dan Weldon not helping their cause. And it is Andretti Green going 1 and 2. Dario Franchitti, the pole sitter, is your leader. Tony Kanaan just off his right-hand side.
Ashley Judge is standing there watching the laps go by. Very difficult for the spouses in this business. You see their drivers out the front, their husbands going by the front stretchaway for about 8 seconds or 9 seconds.
6 laps to go.
In the remaining portion of the circuit, you don't know anything's going on. Very interesting to see. She does not wear a headset. She does not want to hear what's going on the radio. A big high run up there by Sam Hornish Jr. and Weldon very closely behind him.
And Scott, you mentioned Sam Hornish Jr. So much for Hornish teaming up with Scheckter on that restart. Hornish went right by him. You mentioned Scheckter didn't get a very good restart, and Hornish took advantage.
Kanaan 4 feet off the back bumper of Dario Franchitti. They seem to be working together, and Tomas Scheckter is unable to catch the party up front. It is Franchitti, Kanaan, and Vitor Meira.
Now let's watch these first two cars. Franchitti always gets the low side going down the backstretch, not to open it up. He doesn't want to let any room for Kanaan to get on the inside. Now he starts to work the car a little higher, going up the turn to force Kanaan to go a little higher. This is now he's looking in the mirrors. He's making sure he's watching where Kanaan's going. He's listening to the spotters. And right now he just felt and he heard Kanaan was starting to look inside, high side. Watch the variance in his line right now. He'll start to drive that car to make it wider. 217.5 miles an hour that last time around. He'll watch every time he goes by the stripe. Was that lap I just did a little quicker? Was it a little slower? What's my best line for me to go the fastest? So Tony has to be able to go just a bit quicker to get around me. Now see, he's placing the car perfectly. Not enough room on the bottom to allow Tony to take the low line, and just too much of a height up the racetrack to make him go around the high side on the trioval.
3 laps to go in Fontana. Franchitti leads, Kanaan in second, and everyone else is just chasing. 217.5 miles an hour. The fans are standing on their feet at the California Speedway. 2 laps to go, and it all comes down to this. Andretti Green, Honda teammates. Scott, this is probably how it should come down.
They've run so strong all year. They won the Indianapolis 500, 2 championships for the drivers, 2 championships for Honda with the manufacturer's title. Look how low down that white line. And he pops the car up just a little higher to take the line away from Kanaan, making him go around the high side. Some heads-up driving, smart driving by Dario Franchitti. You can tell you right now his foot is not off that gas pedal whatsoever.
The white flag is out. Excuse me, Scott. The white flag is out. The final lap of the 2005 season is underway. Dario Franchitti, can he hold off his teammate Tony Kanaan? And the emotion just too great for Ashley Judd. Kanaan will try to go to the outside. Franchitti holding the inside line. As they come out of turn number 4, Tony Kanaan makes a run at the line. It is Dario Franchitti. The surf is up at Laguna Beach, and Dario Franchitti is riding a wave to victory lane here at Fontana.
We are down here with Ashley, and she gives me a big hug. Ashley, turn around. So much emotion. He did it, Ashley. He wanted it so badly, and he got it.
There are a lot of races this year where we were quickest and various things kept us from winning, but I'd like to say hi to Rick and Donna and to the kids up in Vancouver. It means a great deal to win this race, and Greg is, if you will, the elephant in the room, and we just love him and miss him so much, and it's very meaningful to win here. And I can't ask for someone better against whom to race than Tony Kanaan, and God bless him too, and I know that Greg has got to be just a part of this victory for those boys today.
When the white flag waved, the emotion was too much. We saw you break down. I mean, you know how much a difficult year this has been for Dario.
It really has been, because he's so clever with the car. He's got such tremendous intuition. The feedback he gives the engineers is incredibly detailed and sensitive, and Alan and he have made such progress. I mean, they were setting it up like a champ car for a long time, you know, on these big ovals, and they just figured it out. And so for the victories to elude them, that was kind of heartbreaking, not to mention the fact he's just the most beautiful, elegant sportsman in the whole world. Should win everything, in my opinion.
And by the way, the mention of Greg Moore was a driver all of us loved and was a tremendous talent. He lost his life here a few years ago, and he was a very, very close friend of Dario Franchitti. And I've got to believe that he is smiling right now, as is Miss Ashley Judd, as they will head to victory lane and celebrate. Guys?
Dario Franchitti, the 4th career win, 2nd of the season, 11th win this year for Andretti Green Racing, and 1st win on a track longer than 1.3 miles. And I think Ashley just echoed what I've been saying, folks. That should be the new James Bond. Your winner in Fontana, Dario Franchitti. The celebration is just getting underway. We're going to talk to a whole bunch of people when we return to Southern California. Stay with us. Dario Franchitti has won the race, the Toyota Indy 400, and he has taken a roundabout way to victory lane, but he is there nonetheless. Franchitti, his 2nd win this season, picked up the other one in Nashville, Tennessee, but as they came out of turn 4, Scott, I thought it was Tony Kanaan. The run he got, he timed it and drafted perfectly. Here it is one more time.
Amazing to see that perfect timing that he had. Gets the run on the high side. I'm starting to wonder if maybe he got a little light on the throttle, Todd.
Well, let's listen in and see what it sounds like.
You saw him start to look over to the left to see exactly where Dario's car was, talking about teammanship and actually having the opportunity to give something to your teammate that probably could have won quite a few more races this year. Amazing.
Well, what's going on in their camp, we may never know, but all I can say is Tony Kanaan is one classy guy, and there is yet another classy guy. As Ashley said, he is one fine sportsman as we check in with Vince Welch.
Dario Franchitti, tears in the eyes, and he just finished a warm embrace from the man he battled down the stretch, Tony Kanaan, and a little bit of celebration as the rain starts to fall. Dario Franchitti enjoying his 2nd win of the season. And Dario, I've got to ask you about the battle at the end. It almost seemed as though maybe Tony lifted at the end. Did you get the feeling that that happened?
I don't know. I could see his car coming. It's kind of difficult to see there, but I don't know. I'd like to see the replay. He was coming up pretty quick, though. But he was definitely, we're working well together those last couple of laps, just trying to pull away from the other guys.
Any team orders that you were going to win that race today in the battle between the two of you?
No, I wish there were. You know, we certainly talked about if we could help each other, but with Hornish doing so well, it didn't come to that. You know, we couldn't leapfrog him, he couldn't leapfrog Tony. But no, it was a good team effort, and you know, we all worked well together as we do. You can certainly help people around here, but yeah, it's kind of bittersweet winning here.
Why is this victory so important and so significant for you?
Well, I lost a good friend here 6 years ago, and
we know that Greg Moore, your friend passed away, and we've documented that during the telecast. And you have felt as though maybe this series owed you a few during the course of the season because you've been so close. You feel as though maybe even though your teammate Dan Weldon got the championship, do you feel like this was a championship you could have won?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We had the pace all season, and the AGR cars have been right up there. We just a couple of times with our X car we made a couple of mistakes, and we won't do that next year.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Dario Franchitti, a very emotional victory lane today. Jamie?
Thanks, Vince. Well, the last yellow we saw come out was because of Jacques Lazier and Danica Patrick coming together. Danica is still inside getting her elbow iced. She took quite an impact there, but we do have Jacques Lazier. Jacques, we're going to show you the replay here. We want to get your perspective. We've heard everybody else's opinion on the matter.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sitting down right by the white line down there, and it still doesn't look like I'm moving up any. Very little bit, and I just basically had nowhere to go. I mean, at this point in the race, you're obviously, the tires are getting old, everything's getting old, you're running as hard as you can, and unfortunately happened to me one time previous too. We went into the corner and she ran me right down to the white line and pushed off and almost hit her one other time. It's just, you know, Brian always says you have to give each other room out there, and that's just a situation that I guess stubborn with a couple laps left that she didn't want to give me any room and pinch me down, and there's the result.
Well, it was a great run for you today until the moment. Congratulations, your 50th IndyCar race today.
It's not the way I wanted to end it, and obviously for Target Chip Ganassi Racing and Breast Awareness Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wanted to finish where we were running. We're running in the top 10, a strong run, just everything I wanted, but unfortunately it ended the wrong way.
Thanks, Jacques. Rest up, and we'll see you hopefully back next season. And I do have an update on AJ Foyt IV. He has been released from Loma Linda Hospital. He is okay. That's great news. We want to wish him the best of luck in the Busch Series beginning next weekend. Guys?
Thank you, Jamie. We'll come back and talk to more folks when we return to Fontana after this short break. And we want to remind you this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. And let's check in quickly with Jamie Little.
Well, we just heard Jacques Lazier's side of the story. Now we're going to hear from Danica Patrick. She has been released. She has some ice on her elbow, a little bit sore. But Danica, we're going to show the replay right now, and you tell us what you saw and felt.
Okay, here we go.
What are you seeing here? What are you thinking in your car right now? Are you holding your line, or?
It looks like I'm driving, he's driving. We're all cruising around the corner fine. And we have a barred screen.
And we lost our signal. The rain is kind of coming and going out here. What did you see from inside the cockpit?
I mean, I saw nothing. All I know is that I was on the radio all day about him. He was all over the track, and I can understand if he's trying to find clean air when someone's right in front of him. But he would be out the track by himself and all over the place, cutting the air from me, which is basically like cutting me off. And I was complaining all day on the radio about him. And it's no wonder he jumps around ride to ride. I mean, he just, you know, like, it's so frustrating. I mean, you go out there and you just want to race clean, and this guy is just all over the place. So, needless to say, I'm pretty frustrated. I didn't want to end the year like this, but you know, I just hope it was a good show for all the fans and for our sponsors. Argent had an enormous amount of people here, and Honda and Pioneer are also based here. So, you know, hopefully it was a good race for them to watch. It's too bad we couldn't take it home. I think that, you know, when you can see the leaders right in front of you, you always feel like you have a chance. I was glad there was a yellow at the end, and it's an unfortunate ending.
Well, we're glad that you're okay. And, girlfriend, you could take off your rookie stripes. You are now a veteran.
Sometimes that's okay to use, though.
It's a handicap. We're glad that she's okay. Danica Patrick wraps up her first year in the IndyCar Series. Vince?
Tony Kanaan, the champion a year ago, almost had this season-ending race. TK, it sounded on the inboard as if you lifted at the finish line. What happened?
I wish. I don't know what really happened. I think when I went up to upshift, obviously I was in his draft, and I made a move. I passed the overtake button, and it just the engine had slowed down a little bit. So I don't know what happened, but shame that you know, I haven't won, but the team won. So to lose for a teammate is not that bad. Second place in the championship. So we'll find out what the problem was, but you know, for sure it's one last win.
Incredibly emotional when you came over to Victory Lane and you hugged Dario. What was your message to him?
Well, a few years ago we lost our best friend here, and I know he's up there somewhere. So Greg, we do love you a lot, and that's what I said. I said hopefully this one was for Greg. So good things happen to good people, and he deserved that.
That's a sentiment felt by many. Thank you, TK. Tony Kanaan. Todd?
Thank you very much. And this was the scene after the race was over. A lot of emotion down there, Scott. And you've been around this because when you lose someone that close to you, what a great way to pay tribute.
And how fitting that Dario Franchitti, the closest friend for these guys, to come across the line first between Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti. Andretti Green, so competitive, so strong all year long, they deserve the championship.
Well, here are the final results from the Toyota Indy 400. Dario Franchitti gets the win, followed by Tony Kanaan and Vitor Meira. Scott Sharp with a strong run up to 4th. Sam Hornish rounds out the day in 5th. And Dan Weldon, your champion, he ends up in 6th place. Buddy Rice, not the year he wanted. He'll regroup and be back in 2006. And he finishes in 12th place. AJ Foyt the 4th, Ed Carpenter, Koski Matsur, and Danica Patrick. Not the way they wanted their days to end. No question about that. And the final standings for the IndyCar Series. Dan Weldon, he clinched it back in Watkins Glen. Tony Kanaan will take 2nd. Sam Hornish Jr. spoils the Andretti Green trifecta, and Dario Franchitti, he grabs 4th place, with Scott Sharp being in 5th. And it has been a memorable year, to say the very least, my friend, and thank you so much for along the way helping me out, because you have been fantastic to work with, one of the best in the business. And your final thoughts in 2005?
You know, I look back on this season, I think about the arrival of Danica Patrick, what a great job that she has done really from the Indianapolis 500 forward, and 704 interviews. From that point forward is a ton of interviews to do. You think about Buddy Rice's accident and the return of Kenny Brack, actually, after he had turned around and replaced Buddy Rice. I mean, all that situation that goes on, you know, you have a situation where you look at it and just go, we had a safe season for the most part. We'll get ready for next year, because this is one of the most competitive series in the world.
No question about it. We all anxiously look forward to 2006 and another memorable month of May. We look forward to the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500 as you get a look at the series champion Dan Weldon, and that is the prize that he will be getting. What a tremendous performance by Dan Weldon. Well, the hair, he'll have some Aveda product on that momentarily, no question about it. But I do want to say, on behalf of all the fine people, Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince Welch, Jamie Little, and Jack Arute, and some of the best people in the business, including our producer, Terry Lingner, and our director, Conrad Picciarello, and all the hardworking people here at ESPN that bring this to you every week. Thank you so much for enjoying the ride and being with us for part of the ride. We say good night from Fontana, California. Dario Franchitti gets the victory, but it is that man, Dan Weldon. There has been no more dominant driver in 2005 than Britain's Dan Weldon. He conquered the field, the greatest spectacle in racing, and claimed the overall title in 2005. At the end of an epic journey, we salute number 26, Dan Weldon. Your winner, Dan Weldon.
16 to go, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I just enjoy winning races.
Your winner at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Dan Weldon, picks up the victory. A familiar face in a familiar place. Dan Weldon, he picks up the victory once again in Japan.
It just happens that I've been able to pick up 3 wins along the way, but the Indy 500, I can't wait.
Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500.
This is the Indianapolis 500. It's the best race in the world.
Dan Weldon off of turn number 4. The Englishman will score his 5th win of 2005. Elio Castroneves on the high side. Weldon on the inside. Weldon will win it. Dan Weldon has won it by 13 thousandths of a second. The dominant car, the dominant driver, the dominant team.
Dan Weldon has officially become the 2005 IndyCar Series champion.